Hello, and welcome back to Gaz's Gaming Revival Guide. Um, this week's episode's a bit different. I say this week, but I didn't post last week. I had to house sit for my parents, and I was without my PC and everything. So I just sort of had a week off, and a week off playing this week's game topic, to be honest with you. I know my channel, I said that I'm looking more at the unfound games, the games that haven't quite been spoken much about, and just finding these little hidden gems and like early access and standalone mods and stuff. But I think this game's too big to ignore. I think going off the reviews, people are still not 100% sure whether to play it or not. So I just want to give my take on it, some pros, some cons, some hints, some tips. I'm like over 30 hours into it now, and a little review after. I'm going to be playing some background footage of the game. I'm currently playing on an Xbox S series. I prefer just to sit down with a controller in my hand rather than sit at my desk and play. But the footage is from my PC, so it's a different account. I'm going to start a different account and hopefully just do a bit of piracy, do some messing about, just for something to watch in the background, really. Yeah, I hope you enjoy what I have to say, and let me know what you think of what I've said about the pros and cons and everything, and if you agree or disagree, I'd love to hear from you. First of all, we're just going to go into the background of the Bethesda Game Studios history. Most famously known for their series of Elder Scrolls series, and of course the Fallout series. I'm just going to list some of the games I've personally played in order. The first one on the list is one of the ones that introduced me to this world. It's one of the games that I really first fell in love with, and I realised, wow, gaming's coming a long way. And that is Morrowind. Originally, I started off with the Sega Mega Drive, and then I went on to the PlayStation. But playing this around my friend's house made me get an Xbox, and it was that game where I went, oh my god, like gaming's coming a long way. If you think of it from like Sonic to this. I loved Morrowind. I put a lot of hours into it. I did a lot of messing about in it. I barely ever did the storyline. I was a bit young at that point. And then the expansion packs as well. I think it's the Solitude one where you go to the island and you become a werewolf. I thought was insanely good. The next game I played of theirs was Oblivion. I think this is a bit of a fan favorite, Oblivion, out of the Elder Scrolls. As well as the expansion packs as well. I spent many hours on this. I've completed it like 3-4 times. It's plus the side quests and that. And I think this is when it really started opening up. Well, I got introduced to modding. I don't mod myself. I just like to use mods. And then the next game is Fallout 3. This is the first Fallout I played. I loved Fallout. I wasn't quite as sold in it as the Elder Scrolls. I sort of like the close combat of Elder Scrolls more than I did, the gun type fights in Fallout 3. But I did still love Fallout as well as the expansions as well. Then Fallout New Vegas came out. Well, that's the next one I played anyway. And yeah, I loved Fallout New Vegas. Probably my favorite Fallout. That's when I really started like going, oh, I actually may prefer Fallout over the Elder Scrolls. But yeah, Fallout New Vegas was really good. I only played a couple of the expansion packs, but that was when I really started to play about the mods a bit more, to the point where I break my game. The next one I played was Skyrim. Everybody knows Skyrim. It's still massively played today. The modding community really came together on this one. And these have got a massive amount of mods. Like, you could just play a completely new game every time you play it. I have tried to play it back a few times after completing it, like 2 or 3 times. Not 100% completing it, but but yeah, I think it's been out for so long now. I think I need an update on the Elder Scrolls front. I'd like to play something new, to be honest with you. And then there was Fallout 4. Not quite as well received as the previous Fallouts, but a very solid game. It was enjoyable. I didn't quite get into the base building as much. The expansion packs, I think people are a bit disappointed in some of the expansion packs because they were just adding things in that evolved a lot around the base building, which is what a lot of people weren't doing. Um, if you're like an old school Fallout player, you don't really focus on the building aspect so much. So when you've got this new DLC coming out and it's just adding a couple little bits and bobs to the inventory of the base building, it's a little bit like, well, why would I pay for that? And I think even people who did pay for it weren't they're not well reviewed anyway. But still, like I said, a solid game. I've gone back to it a few times. I really enjoyed the game itself, and yeah, it's good. All right, and this is where Bethesda, being one of my favorite developers and publishers, this is where a lot of people lost a bit of respect for them. Most gaming companies do, and that is Fallout 76. I think they were trying to do something new and initiative, take on people's ideas of being able to play with someone else. I'd love to be able to play multiplayer Fallout, but when this first came out, this wasn't it. Things just weren't advanced enough. Everything I was hearing about it, I just didn't want to give it a go, and I didn't give it a go. I have bought and played Fallout 76 since it started getting better reviews. In fact, I played it pretty recently actually, and it's decent. I'd like to play with a friend, but I ended up playing on my own, and it actually felt playable on your own as well, sort of thing. Like they've put a lot more like immersion quests and NPCs and stuff in it now, where you can just play it, and it just feels like a normal Fallout game. The only thing I'd say I didn't like about it was it's big on pay to play. There's a lot of loot boxes and stuff that you can buy for, and you can't unlock the equipment otherwise. And it's quite frustrating because it's quite a lot of the base building stuff again, and I did want to get more into the base building. I think this one evolves more around it, or this one makes more sense to have it because you've got other players as well around you, so you can actually impress other people, you can keep people out, whatever. Yeah, so to block a lot of the items it was a bit annoying, and they're not cheap either, I did notice. And that now leads us to their newest game, STARFIELD. Okay, so STARFIELD is, I think, a lot of people described it as it's going to be Skyrim in space. But I think going off the reviews, there's a lot of mixed reviews about it. I don't think people aren't saying it's a bad game. They were just expecting something else. They're expecting a bit more, and I'll go into that after I've given my pros and cons. But yeah, the reviews on Steam at the moment are mostly positive, with 49,565 reviewers. I have been going through to see what other people don't like and they like about it. I agree on some, I don't agree on the other. As I've mentioned before, I'm not a pro gamer, I'm quite an amateur gamer. I just like easy games I can quite get into. I don't like, you know, I just want to get into some good games. But like, when it comes to like, a lot of people talk about the optimization, they talk about the field of view, they talk about a lot of the settings and things like that. I don't really get into that. Like, I take it as it comes. I judge it more on the game itself. So that now brings us on to going through my pros and cons. I shall start with my pros. Right. So firstly, one of the earlier things you do is the character design. I thought the character design was really good. I thought there was a lot of things you could do with the character design. I would have liked a bit more hairstyles, but Bethesda's always been really good at their character design, to be fair. Like that's always been one of the biggest things I've loved in the game. You can change it a lot. You can alter settings. You can, when I say settings, I mean like when you choose the eyes, you can alter like the position of the eyes, like the eyelids and stuff like that. I think a lot of people were taking the mick out the fact that you can choose your gender to be a neutral gender. Is that what you call it? I don't know. I'm not up to terms with this stuff, I don't care. I honestly couldn't give a crap. Like, I don't know why it bothers people so much that's in there. Just don't choose it then. If it doesn't apply to you, don't choose it. Why'd you let it bother you, man? So yeah, I thought the character design was good. I enjoyed it. I spent a good hour and a half just doing the character design. The next thing I noticed was the perk system. I think the perk system's really, really good. You got I think 4 or 5 different categories, like technology, like your healing stuff, and then you got your combat stuff, and then you got your security and your sneaking around and stuff. Those aren't the actual terms. I just can't remember what they come in. I don't pay that much attention to them, but I think they're really good. Like what I like about this one now is a little bit like the strength to carry more things. If you want to unlock or be able to unlock the next strength thing, it sort of gives you like a little mini challenge then. So like you have to sprint a certain amount of distance with 75% equipment in your inventory in order to unlock the next level, and then you use a perk point to unlock the next level. And I thought that was quite cool. I think some people don't like that. Or you have to successfully open a number of locks before you can upgrade your lock picking. But I quite liked it. It's a bit of a side challenge, and it's yeah, I thought it was interesting. It's like, right, I want to do that one next, so I've got to do this quickly, and I found myself quite distracted with that. But the perk system, and there's a lot of good perks to unlock. There's some really like standard ones, like I said, like lock picking, persuasion, and bartering, and certain weapons. And but then there's some really cool ones you can unlock for your ship. And there's down the line as well. There's some further ones which I'll talk about more in the tips and tricks that can be unlocked, in which they really enhance like your scanner and things like that you wouldn't have thought you could unlock. The next one on the pros, I've got interactive NPCs. There's loads of people walking about. You have got your standard NPCs where they're just called settler or pirate or whatever, in which you try to talk to them, they just give a solid line every time you talk to them. But there seems to be loads of people to talk to, and with lots of dialogue. And I found myself so many times like just going up to the shop just to buy something, and they start going on and on and on about their problems. It reminded me of real life, really. You just stand there going, I just want to bloody buy something, and they're telling you all their problems, and it leads into a little side quest then. So yeah, and even just walk around the cities and stuff, like the amount of NPCs walking around, I thought it was great. Is the city scene full? Some of the more expensive cities, like the upper class cities seemed a bit more emptier, which I preferred. And then when you go down to the slums, they're more cramped and more full. I liked it. There's a lot of NPCs. There's a lot going about. There's a lot of conversations to have. And that brings me on to now and talk about cities. The next one is how detailed the cities are and the variety of the cities. And I thought this was amazing. Like, I think the original, I don't want to give any spoilers away, but you come across one of these cities, Neon, and it's almost like a cyberpunk city. There's flashing lights everywhere. You go into the slums of it, and it's a bit more, it's a bit more, what do you call it? A bit more slummish, yeah. Is that a word? Yeah, I thought it was really good. And then there's another city then I landed on, which was like a bit of a deserted one. Like it just seemed more like a Western, something you'd find in Fallout, to be honest with you. So yeah, and I just thought there's so much going on. Everywhere you look, there's something. There's a lot of verticality as well, so you can climb up quite high in a lot of the cities, as well as little hidden areas as well. So I thought the cities were so detailed. They had so much variety. Excuse me, going on. And then they were so different from each other. Like that was one of my favorite parts about this. One of the first things I noticed is how detailed everything was. Right, next on the list we have customizable weapons, armors. Yeah, so customizable weapons and armors. Now I haven't got very far into this, but I thought that was really cool. I know you got customizable weapons on Fallout. This one seems to be a little bit more complicated, in my opinion. Like, I'm looking at some of these materials and I've never heard of them, but that's because I haven't really taken notice of them, of course, because I'm not looking for them. But there seems to be a lot to do, a lot of mods to add on, a lot of attachments to add on, as well as skins to collect as well. So yeah, that's really cool. I like that. I'm glad they kept that sort of thing in. The next one we've got is the variety of weapons, outfits, and armor. I have seen some people complain about there's not enough variety of weapons, I do sort of get what they're saying. A lot of people that you kill seem to have the exact same weapon, and you just sort of get a legendary or a rare weapon every now and then. But I thought I'm still finding weapons that I didn't know existed, and even the ones that I know that existed, I'm finding different varieties of that version of different mods and everything on them. Where I'm like, oh wow, this does this sort of damage. This doesn't explode. A shotgun with explosive damage and stuff like. A little bit like a Borderlands, I see it more as. Like, you pick up a shotgun, it sort of looks like the same shotgun, but this one has something added to it. So I think more people would like to see more out of this world weaponry, which would be cool. I don't think it'd be hard to add in the DLCs, but I thought there was plenty of weapons, especially outfits and armors. I'm constantly picking up new outfits all the time, and yeah, there's just loads of different outfits and stuff, and you get different outfits for working for different factions as well. Some of those are really cool, and you can mix and match helmets and suits and whatever have you. I thought, I think there's a good fair amount of them. Next one is a massive amount of jobs, side jobs, tasks, challenges. This is incredible how much they've put into this. I'm constantly getting, and people may find this annoying, I don't. I think, oh yeah, another one. Like, even when you're walking through the street, two people would be talking about something, and you have a new available quest. You walk in a shop, like I said, you start speaking to the shopkeeper, you got a new available quest. You can be walking, doing anything, you listen into conversation, and a new quest pops up. You can be flying through space, and you hear transmission, and a new quest pops up. I think within like a couple of hours into the game, I had like at least 20 quests and side quests all available. They're not going to disappear. You can always go back to them, which is what I've been doing now. But you've got the mainline quests, you've got faction quests, you've got side quests, and then you've got smaller missions like little jobs for people, just helping them out and whatever have you. And the variety, I'm going to mix two of the pros in, the variety of those missions is incredible. Like, I think they've done really well on that. 1 minute, no spoilers, but 1 minute I was infiltrating big industries and hacking their computers and planting bugs and everything. Next, I'm being sent to take out a space gang. Next, I'm trying to stop a bank robbery. And some of the others I've done. Oh, I ended up working in like a power plant for a while as well. Creating these mixtures and everything. Like, and then another one was I had to go around the city shutting off all these. Oh, anyway, there's loads. There's so many, and then on top of that, then you've got these. I know in one of the sheriff's office, you've got a bounty board, and some of the factions, you've got like smaller faction missions just to earn a bit of a coin every now and then. Like, you will have so much to do when it comes to missions and jobs. I think that was amazing. Like, I couldn't believe how much was in there. Don't get me wrong. I think no. I'll say that in the comms. I'm gonna put that. No, I'll say it now. There's a lot of the missions and stuff are dragged out a bit, as in you have to go back and forth to people, and you would think being in this futuristic setting, you'd have an intercom on you, sort of thing, on like an arm device, a bit like Fallout, but like an intercom thing, or like Star Wars, where the little holograph comes up and you could speak to someone and give them the message there. But instead, they do send you back and forth to prolong the missions, I think, and that's the only problem I've got with them. But otherwise, they're great. Going on to the on-foot action, as in the on-foot fighting, I think a lot of people weren't completely satisfied with this. I really like it. It's a pro for me. I really enjoy just going in there, guns blazing with different guns. AI is not the smartest. We'll get onto that later, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. A lot of people didn't like the melee, whatever you want to call it. But it reminded me of the older games. It reminded me of the Fallout and stuff, and people didn't like the melee in Fallout. It would have been cooler to be more like Skyrim with some finishing moves and stuff. But I find it satisfying. I enjoy the gun work. I enjoy sniping from afar, and then when I trigger the alarms, just running in with my samurai sword, just cutting people down. I think it's really good. I'm really enjoying the action side of it on my feet. The only thing I'd like to say about the on-foot action is I would like to see some more gore. I'm not quite sure what the rating is for Starfield, the age rating, but yeah, it'd be cool if I could cut some arms off and stuff, the disembarkment, I think they call it. I probably butchered that. I can't remember. Okay, next one. Dialogue options. Yeah, going back to the, well, it sort of falls in with the interactive NPCs and falls in with the missions, but it gives you plenty of dialogue. I don't think they make too much of a difference what you say, but they do have a different response to a lot of them. Whether you want to say things like being a bit of a kiss ass, whether you want to be sarcastic, or whether you just want to be an asshole, or you just want to ask questions, it gives you all the choices. And even if it doesn't change anything, it sort of makes you feel like you're going towards what sort of personality your character wants to have. Like if you want to be a good guy, you're a bit of a kiss ass and stuff. If you want to be a bad guy, you're just sarcastic and you say the arsehole things. But yeah, like I said, whether they make any big changes, I don't think so. But you know, it's still it's immersiveness at the end of the day, isn't it? It'd be a lot of work to make them make real differences. But you do have the choice every now and then whether to persuade people and talk it through, or just go, right, you're going to die, which I think is a big choice difference, to be honest with you. Because you can even have a fight or don't have a fight. Okay, the next one, yeah, talking about that. So I mentioned Persuade. This Persuade mini games, I do really like the Persuade mini game that you do now. I didn't quite understand it at first, but then after a while, it's more simple than you think. You sort of just got to stay on the subject, and it is a bit of a guessing game, but I'm really getting into it, and I'm enjoying the Persuade mini games, as sad as it sounds. I use a lot of it at the moment because, like I said, on the Xbox S, I'm just playing a bit of a, not so much a perfectly good guy, but a better guy, you know, compared to the PC one when you're playing a bit of a pirate. So I use a lot of Persuade in that, so I'm enjoying that. Stealth. I worked for an industry, I won't have any spoilers, where I think 99% of the missions were all about stealth. I do really like the stealth. There's a lot of like vents and things you can go through and sneaking around, and it was a bit glitchy at some stages, but I'm sure that'll be fixed in the future, so I'm not going to focus on that. But stealth itself, it is really good. When I say glitchy, it's the field of view and how you trigger them sometimes. Like there's times that you could be hiding behind a corner and they look towards you and they somehow know you're there. And there could be times where you're hiding in a corner in plain sight and they just walk right past you. But I think they'll fix that. So like I said, I'm not going to focus the stealth on that. But yeah, I'm liking the stealth so far. Stealth's good. And going off stealth, you know, a stealthy part of it is lockpicking and hacking. I've read a couple of reviews that didn't take too kindly to the new hacking and lockpicking system. It's the same system now. And like Fallout 4, it was a bit of a word chooser for the hacking. And then something, I can't even remember what the lockpicking was. But yeah, you get something called digipicks now, which essentially do the same thing because all the doors are electric anyway. And all the chests are electric, so it makes sense. Oops, sorry about that. But yeah, I really like it. Once again, I was a bit confused when I first did it, but now I sort of know what I'm doing with it. I'm quite enjoying it. I think it's quite a good little mini game. I won't say too much on that because it's not a lot to it. I like another pro is customizing ships. I like the fact that you can customize your ships. I mean, I think people would be very pissed off if you couldn't customize a ship since it's supposed to be such a big part. I would like a bit more. I would like to customize a bit more, like customize interiors and customize layouts and stuff. You are just looking at things like your three main weapons, your shields, and your gravity jump and your engines and stuff. But yeah, I think it's pretty cool that you can customize it. And staying on the ship subject, I like how you can attach yourself to other ships after a starfight. If you disable their engines, you can attach onto them. You can actually board the ship like a proper pirate, as well as attaching yourself to random space stations and things you find out there. So yeah, that's really good. That's on my pro list. Yeah, so when you do have, going back to the conversations, when you do have those choices that you know are going to make a difference in the mission, because it would tell you pretty much. It would say, oh, either side with this person or side with that person. It feels real to me. Like, when I say it feels real, is that I'll be playing the missions. I'll talk to certain people along the game. So if I'm working for the enforcers sort of thing, the ones that hold the law against the pirates, and I'm working for the enforcers, and I have to infiltrate the pirates, and I'll be working alongside the pirates, I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to be loyal to the enforcers because they're going to offer me this and offer me that. You meet so many characters along the way that really sway your decision. You think, oh, this character's really cool. Oh my god, like they're offering me these missions. Oh, the equipment for this side's really good. And then you come to making that decision then in the dialogue, and you almost feel swayed by your experience. You're like, oh god, like I quite like this side of it now, like, but that's not all my character wants to be. And that's what I mean about real life. There's certain things when someone's offering you a big load of money and all these amazing things, the other side's a bit like, oh, you're just gonna get our thanks and a handshake. You're a bit like, oh, hang on a second. So yeah, I really like that. I felt that quite a lot. Only 30 hours into the game, and I've had it happen like 3 or 4 times already to me, where I've really struggled on a decision. But I've sort of kept to my what I want my character to be. But this latest decision I've had, I won't spoil it, is really got me like, oh, I don't know about this. I had to save it before. Okay, the next point, pro, is realistic environments. And I think this is really, really good what they've done. So your caves and everything you go in, they feel very cramped. They feel like very small, linear paths, and they, when you get deeper and deeper, they suddenly open out. But even then, there's so much verticality of it, and there's all these broken walkways and stuff, and you can only really get around with your boost pack. And then they've got little side trails off into like dead ends, which are like the mining ends and stuff, which I thought was really good. Then you've got like big open rural planets that almost feel like big deserts, and you can see for a good couple miles. And then you've also got these space stations that are once again very cramped but very cluttered and very, I think, yeah, the environments they have and what I've seen so far is really good. Like, they've done really good design on that, as well as like I said, the cities are so detailed and everything. So are the environments. I think a lot of people aren't very happy about how deserted some of the planets are, but I get it. Yes, I'd like to see some more cities and everything, and I'll get more into that, my dislikes, but yeah, I think they've done really well on that. Okay, my last pro for this is, I'm sure there's more which I'll come across, but for now, from 30 hours playing, is that I have come into a few solar systems which are completely non-policed. If you go into the police solar systems and you've got contraband on you, they're going to scan you, and then if you've got contraband on you, they're going to take you to jail and everything. Whilst you can go to solar systems without the police as well, without any enforcement presence, which I think is pretty cool. So you're not always sort of, you can either keep away from the pirates attacking you all the time, or you can keep away from the enforcers trying to pull you over all the time. So yeah, that's really good. So that's the end of my pros. Right, next we're going to move on to the dislikes. Just want to take a little stop there. Just, if you hear my mic cutting out at all, I am having to pause it quite a bit. I'm full of hay fever still. It's been going on for months. So yeah, so I've had to just cut it out, just sniff or whatever, just so I'm not doing it into the mic. Right, so on to the dislikes. Right. This one's a big one. This is what 90% of like bad reviews have said, and I felt it myself as well. Loading screens. To forewarn you, yeah, there's a lot of loading screens. So the big ones being that people are mostly disappointed about, including myself, is the launching and taking off. I think a lot of people were expecting, if you've played No Man's Sky, one of the best, my personal favourite things about it is pulling into the planet's atmosphere, it going from space into clouds into suddenly this big planet opening up, and then finding a place to land. You can pick a place to land still anywhere on the planet, and you turn it into a landing site. But yeah, everything is loading screen now, or animation. So when you pick to land somewhere, it's a loading screen, very quick loading screen. I will give it that. On the Xbox S, I'm not sure what it's like on slower computers. I'm sure on faster computers, it's very quick loading screen. But for landing and taking off, the animation can take a little bit long, but the loading screen itself is very quick. Yeah, so landing, loading screen, taking off, loading screen, latching onto a space station, loading screen, warp into another planet, or gravity jump into another planet, loading screen, and where it really, yeah, so it's a bit much, to be honest with you. I think a lot of people were a bit disappointed with that. They were looking for more No Man's Sky sort of landing, taking off, as I was myself. It doesn't ruin the game for me. It's a bit annoying. It takes the immersion out a little bit. Yeah, I can put up the loading screens when they're quite short, but there have been some loading screens where I have crashed, and I'll get onto that as a con. But yeah, they've got loading screens. It's strange. I understand with some of the cities, because with the cities you've got this whole planet, so it'd be hard to have open cities on a whole planet. So you go into the city. I have been into a couple of cities where they don't have loading screens, but then when you go into a lot of the buildings and stuff, they do, a bit like more old school, like Oblivion, whatever have you. When you go press A on a door, or X on a door, whatever you want to have you. Excuse me. Yeah, so it's loading screens into the door, but going not just the loading screens, the animations as well. There's this animation where you go to sit down. There's a few missions where you got to sit and wait for someone, or you got to sit and talk to someone, and the animation is just so annoying. It just takes too long to sit down. I know it's supposed to be like more realistic in that sense to see them sitting down, but if I'm honest with you, I'd rather just click the seat and suddenly I'm sitting down. We don't really need that animation. It's quite irritating. So yeah, so I think that's the big one, is the loading screens, is that everyone's going on about, and the taking off and the landing and the latching onto space stations, and it is a bit disappointing. But we'll get into that further. I'm going to give like my thoughts on why it's so mixed after I've given my cons. Right, so my next con is the lack of variety in ships. Now, you get different size ships, you get different shape ships, you get different, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, the amount of people you can hold, and they do look different, but for me, I want them to look really different. Like, I want them to be a bit out there, a bit bizarre. I'd like to find some rare ships and some legendary ships that look badass, and I'd like to find ones that look just pathetic, to be honest with you. But they all look very similar, just bigger and smaller sizes, slightly different shapes. And like I said, when you're in the ships themselves, apart from the layout, a lot of them feel the same. All the big ships feel the same, all the smaller ships feel the same as well. A bit like the weapons and stuff, that I would like it if they had some really cool mods and like some of the ships, like so it used to be a ship for doing a certain something, so now they've kept that on there. If that makes sense. But that's how I felt every time I'm looking through the list of ships. Like, I'm never excited to see a new one. I did have like a prisoner ship once, but I didn't see much difference between like a medium-sized ship, to be honest with you, and I ended up selling it. Okay, the next con I've got, this is a quite a controversial one, because I've seen people that really like them, but the space combat, the dogfighting, to me, it can feel a little dull sometimes. You've got up to 3 weapons on your ship, and for me, I'm basically just locking on and just holding all 3 buttons, and then they fly past you, you turn around and follow them, they fly at you again, and you're just holding it again. It'd be nice if there was like some sort of like dodge animation. I think, what was it, the Halo Ghosts, when you're flying on the Halo Ghosts, and you could do that barrel roll. It'd be cool if like you had some functions like that where, or you could unlock functions like that where you could really get more into the fighting and stuff. Yeah, it'd be cool if they added like some perk abilities to upgrade your. I know they do have perks where you can upgrade your piloting, but it should be able to unlock different moves and different maneuvers and stuff like that. It can feel a little bit dull for me. It's still good. I still enjoy it, but yeah, there are times where it's like I'm about to take down fleets and I just don't find it very exciting. I'm just getting shot from the side while I'm just chasing one and just following each other around, just unloading our weapons on each other. Right. Okay, next con. which is another big one, which is one I realised big time at the beginning. Lack of vehicles. Now, this is a space game, so you're telling me we can build these massive technical spaceships with all this technology on board, and yet we have no land vehicles whatsoever. Nothing. This is another thing No Man's Sky did really well. Is there, like, you had so many different ones in there. No Man's Sky, like, you've got these hover bikes, you've got these 4x4s, you've got submarines, you can even have these big mechanical suits like from Armored Core. Yeah, but why not? Like, at least you can even have mounts in No Man's Sky. You can't have nothing in Starfield, and it's a bit of a slog. You've got your booster pack to get you around, but it's just not enough. Like, I want to be able to whiz around the planet and something and explore something quickly. Maybe it's their way of making the planets feel bigger than they actually are and more dense than they actually are, trying to find things, and taking off in your ship and landing somewhere else on the planet to find something, rather than just realizing that the planet's not as big as you would think it is. Yeah, vehicles would be lovely. So I don't know why they didn't put those in. I can't imagine it was too hard to put in either. Here's one, and this is what my friend said to me, and I didn't actually realize until he asked me, and that is, why is everyone a human? Now, if you look at all these other games, like I said, space games, sorry, No Man's Sky, Mass Effect, and everything, you've got these human type alienoids. Now, I know you do have aliens on this game, like the creatures you kill on the planets, but yeah, there is no like alien humanoid or humanoids alien. Oh god, I don't know the word for it, but I know if you introduce those, people want to play them as characters as well, and people be questioning why you can't be them as a character. But it doesn't make sense to me that, we've got thousands of planets, hundreds of galaxies, whatever, and it turns out there was no other intelligent life out there that can do what we can do, is pretty much what it's saying. So yeah, that was a bit confusing. I would have liked to see a bit more variety, but everyone is just a human. Next thing I noticed, being a player who's not very good and loses his way a lot, and that is, there are no city or building maps. So when you're in these main cities, there's no HUD or minimap to see where the hell everything is. You've really got to learn your way around. You would think, being so far in the future and advanced technology, this would make sense to have a little mini map on some sort of device even. Excuse me. And the same as inside buildings and space stations, they don't really have anything so you can navigate your way around. This didn't really make sense to me. And next one is something I did go into a little bit in the pros, is the AI. I mean, I don't know if it's just a bit glitchy at the moment because they need to fix some bugs, but I find the AI a bit confusing at some stages. Sometimes they seem to be really intelligent and see me from miles away, and everything's triggered and everything's shooting at me, or I make a little bit of sound and they find me straight away. And there's other times where I'm just in plain sight and they don't see me, or there's someone inside a locked door that isn't a loading screen door and I can see them through the window and they're looking at me and it's not triggering them either. So the AI is a bit confusing at the moment, and when you shoot at them, sometimes they will just stand there. There's times where they really do cover and then they move their positions, and like I said, it's just a bit confusing at the moment. It's like sometimes they have these really dumb moments, and I guess that could be more realistic, but no, you want them to be quite intelligent. I just find it a bit confusing. It's either one or the other, I wouldn't want dumb AI, I'd want intelligent AI, but yeah, it's just one of my cons, really. And that leads me on to the bugs so far and the glitches. I haven't come across too much. I've had a few weird markers that have sort of stuck around or gone into the wrong place, or not quite moved fast enough. Like, I've reached a marker and it's sort of just stayed there, and I've gone on I've gone on down the path, realised it's still back there, walked back there, and then it's moved on. I have crashed, I'd say, about 4 or 5 times in 30 hours. That's on the Xbox S series. which has been quite annoying. When I get on my ship, I have found my followers standing on chairs. But one of the biggest bugs for me, without any spoilers, down one of the mission lines when I was working for as a deputy, um, there's a certain mission where you're about to listen to this presentation by this lady about this event you can enter, and she just doesn't give the presentation. And I read it up online. Many people have had this problem, and the only way to resolve it is to load an earlier save. But all my saves were after I'd spoken to her. So it's basically screwed me until they fix that mission. Hopefully that'll be one of the newer things they fix. I did realise they did an update recently, so maybe they've done that. I'll have to go back on that mission and check. But I was really enjoying that mission line, so it's a bit annoying not to be able to carry on with it. Right, the next one is, as a con, I haven't really felt the need of base building yet. I don't understand it quite yet. There's nothing really pushing me to do it. There's nothing really speaking out to me. There's no missions I've come across so far. It's like, right, it's good if you have a base here. I would like a mission that really pushes me into it and introduces it to me a bit more. At the moment, it just seems like a pointless side thing to do, which maybe I'll enjoy more in the future. I don't know. But yeah, I won't get too much into that because that's just something I haven't experienced yet. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that are quite enjoying that aspect. That's just a personal opinion. Next one is lack of future technology, of personal future technology. Okay, this goes back to what I said about the contacting system where they've got intercoms on the starships, which you use quite a lot in some of the missions, but you would think you have some sort of device where you could speak to whoever sent you on the mission. I know some missions are going to require you to go back to that person because an event's going to happen, but I did one recently where I swear to God, I went back and forth about 6 times just to speak to them. They go, right, you can go now. And I'm jumping bloody solar systems and everything just to get to these people. And they're just like, yeah, you can go now. And I've been back and forth, back and forth. Surely I can bring some sort of communication system up my arm and speak to them. So that'd be cool to have something like that, but I think the reason they've done that is to extend the length of the mission and, you know, make the mission line longer itself. And anyway, it's just a bit of a con for me. Next one I've got for cons is slow XP. I have found that the XP in this game is very slow. Don't get me wrong, you want a sense of achievement where you feel like you've earned that XP, you've earned the upgrade, and I guess they don't want to let you get too many perks and everything so early on. But yeah, there's been certain times where I upgrade and I think, oh my god, like how long I've done so much in that time that how haven't I upgraded more, sort of thing. I think there should be certain missions and certain tasks that give you bonus XP, or certain things they want to push you towards into trying and doing, like for the first time or discovering, that should give you bonus XP, which is quite a high amount of XP because at the moment it's very slow. I think like I said, I'm 30 plus hours in. I think I'm like level maybe 18 or something, and I've done a lot of side missions and everything. And I think there is probably bonus XP in certain missions, but you still don't realise it's so little. I've done a lot of fighting in those hours as well. Like I've gone in guns blazing. I've barely used stealth, and I've unlocked a lot of things as well, which gives you XP. Okay, the last on my cons list is you need more reasons to land on some of the barren planets. Yeah, so some of these planets, they don't really show you anything to land for. I know there's materials, but once again, unless you're base building, there's not really any big reason to land on the planets. In fact, I picked up a book recently, which was Oliver Twist, not in real life, this is in game, and it notified me of a London landmark. And that was, you know, I thought, oh, that'd be cool to go see. I'm going to go see that. I'm going to go land there, and you know, it gives me a reason to go visit that you know, that part of Earth. And I landed there. And you couldn't do anything of it. You could look at it. I think you got a bit of XP for seeing it. You couldn't even go inside it. There was nothing to loot there. It was just a building. And I was just like, right, if that comes up again, I'm not going to land there. It's a waste of time. So I think there should be more reasons to land on the planet. Once again, this ties in with the whole vehicles and everything and them being a bit too barren. to have reason to do it. But yeah, I think unless you're mining for materials, there's not a lot drawing me to some of the smaller planets quite yet. Okay, those are my cons and dislikes. Going off those, I think the reason why this has had a mostly positive review, which for anyone who uses Steam knows that's not great at all, is because I think a lot of people were expecting No Man's Sky. You got people expecting No Man's Sky, and you've got people expecting Skyrim in space. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't know why I was expecting No Man's Sky. I think because it came out so long ago, and Bethesda is such a bigger developer than the developers for No Man's Sky. I was expecting them to outdo them. So to have those little cutscenes and those little shortcuts through launching and landing and everything was a bit disappointing. I think the collecting materials and everything itself isn't as good as No Man's Sky, and the base building, I haven't done it yet properly, so maybe I'm wrong. Doesn't seem as good either. I think if you're going to get this game, just don't expect No Man's Sky experience. You've really just got to expect, Fallout, Skyrim, Cyberpunk, if you want, even as well. There's some Cyberpunk-esque to it. In a space scenario. It's not a space game, it's a game in space, if that makes sense. That's the only way I can say it, really. But I'm really enjoying it. I think it's still a really good game, and hopefully with some bug fixes and some DLC, they will fix a couple of those things and add more to the game as well. But yeah, I think they've done a hell of a job. Like, I can't knock the game. Those cons, I think the pros massively outweigh the cons. It's still such an in-depth, vast variety of a game. Like, I don't even know if I'm making sense anymore. Okay, so like I said, I've got about 30 hours of this game, and I'm just going to give you some hints and tips from my experience so far. Okay, so don't know whether you want to call them tip or hint, but from my experience, number one, luckily I heard a lot about avoiding the main storyline before I started. Apparently it's not a hell of a long storyline. I think playing 30 hours, I could have easily completed it by now. Yeah. So I basically just did it up until the tutorial was done, and it became a bit more open world and a bit more go do what you want now. And I just went straight for all the side missions and the exploring and everything. And I just come back and I just do one of the main storyline missions every now and then. I don't know why this is. It's just one of the tips I've heard. So I can't even say it's from my experience, but I've got a funny feeling maybe it's a bit of a story ender. It's a bit of a game ender, and you get the choice to carry on or whatever. But yeah, that's my first tip. Another personal tip, a personal tip that I have realised, and has screwed me quite a bit, is make sure you buy digipicks. That digipicks are the Starfield's version of lockpicks. I've had to come across a couple of missions where I had to hack something or open something, and I was all out of digipicks, and I spent the next hour traveling back to a city and trying to find traders who sell them. So whenever you go to a trader, they're not expensive. I think at the beginning, without any barter skills, they're like 33 coins, which is nothing in that game. Just keep buying loads of them. Tip number 3, always loot medical items, especially if you're planning to focus on close combat. So if you're planning to be a bit of a berserker like I am, where I just run in with a shotgun or an explosive pistol or my samurai sword, it's not an incredibly hard game depending on what difficulty you're playing it on. I think I'm playing it on the middle difficulty. But you do get shot a lot. There's a lot of people with weapons that poison or weapons that set you on fire and drain your health quite a bit. You tend to find, like I said, the AI are shooting from all different directions. So yeah, always have lots of medical items on you. Always make sure you loot them when you see the medical cases, or you see them you see them on the floor quite a lot. Anything that adds health or fixes injuries, because if you don't have a good boost pack and you do drop off a high height, you can break your legs. So just keep picking up all the medical stuff all you can, and even buy some at the shops. I think the medical stuff's quite expensive though, so just loot. Tip number 4, right, so you pick up a lot of ammo in this game. Pick up every bit of ammo you can. but there's so many different varieties of ammo for different varieties of guns. Now, what I tend to do is I thought I had tons of ammo. Then I'd get out this new 126 explosive damage gun pistol, and I'd have no ammo. I was thinking, hang on a second, I haven't used any like of this ammo. So yeah, so if you have a favorite gun or you've got one that's above the rest and you really want to use it, then sell a lot of the other ammo, sell your weapons you're not going to use as much that use that ammo, and just buy a ton of ammo specified for the gun you want to use, because you'd be surprised how much of the same ammo you pick up. I remember I bought a laser gun out and suddenly I had hundreds of ammo for it, and I was like, oh, that's what I've been picking up. Um, yeah, so next tip number 4. Was that 4? No, 5. Right, so this tip is a bit of the starting traits you should probably focus on to upgrade. In my opinion, I would choose strength, because you don't have a lot of weight you can carry, and once you are encumbered, even walking at a fast pace takes your oxygen down, and then once your oxygen is down, your CO2 comes in. If your CO2 goes all the way, it will start killing you. You can't fast travel, and fast traveling's a lot in this. That's one of my other tips we'll get onto, but yes, I would probably look at a bit of strength. You want to get the booster pack perk that allows you to, so the pack you get given that allows you to fly and jump around planets. Like I said, there's no vehicles in this game. It also lets you do a lot of verticality, where I've seen a mission marker up the top of this building, and usually you have to run for the building, and you can just bounce up this building just to get up there. The same as caves and things like that. There's some places that seem to be unreachable without the booster pack. There is a variety of different gravity levels and different planets, so you fly further when you use it. So yeah, I would get the booster pack. Lock picking, you come across, like I said, lock picking is tied into computers and lock picking now, like chests and stuff. So that's worth getting up, because there's a lot of loot to be had and it's easy money. Okay, the next one is targeting for your ship. Now, this will bring me on to one of my other tips, but targeting your ship allows you to target certain areas of the ship you're attacking, whether you want to get their shields down or whether you just want to shut their engine off so you can board them. So targeting is a good one. And then you've got persuasion. Like I said, if you're going to be a bit of a pacifist, or be a bit of a good guy, whatever, persuasion comes a long way. But even without it, even if you're going to be a bad guy, like, persuasion can help a lot, even in the factions. When you're talking to some of the factions and you're trying to persuade them to do something, I found that quite useful. And then a lot of people say to get the bartering perk, but I agree in some sense, but I don't think you need to get that early on. Like, you get most of your money through the missions early on. Like, I didn't sell a lot when I first started, but anyway, you can if you want. But then you want to focus on a combat type as well, because you will realize a massive amount of damage difference when you focus on one certain aspect of the combat type. Okay, so number 6. Look out for upgrade magazines. So this is something I didn't realize until a fair few hours in. A lot of the in fact, no, this is one of my other tips, so I won't say that. But yeah, so you get these magazines just laying about, and a bit like the Fallout magazines, they give you upgrades and everything, whether it's like 5% damage extra on shotguns or whatever. They weigh hardly anything, like 0.4 of whatever they weigh in. But yeah, pick those up because they can give you some boosters. Okay, number 7, side missions and side quests can unlock traits. Now, I mentioned I started working for a certain industry without any spoilers, and they unlocked a big trait for me, which is like an end game trait. So these traits which you end up working towards, some of the side missions and everything, actually unlock them for you. So yeah, be sure to do your side missions because there's more benefit to them than just extra money. Number 8, This brings me on to what I was saying when I was talking about the magazines. There's no need to loot misc items anymore. Unlike Fallout, where you turn all the junk into materials, now the misc items are practically worthless. I think they're more for decoration. Even selling, you can sell them for a few coins, but you soon realize anything that doesn't sell for more than like 500 plus isn't really worth picking up very early on in the game. And that's sell for. That's not what it says in your inventory. That's what I mean. Like when you take it to the actual the traders, because their rates aren't very good at all. So yeah, no need for misc items anymore or junk. Number 9. Oh yeah, this is what I was saying about the target lock and the perks, is commandeering the ships rather than spending all your money on ships. If you can get the target lock, knock out their engines, you can hatch onto their ship, board it, kill everyone, get in the cockpit, and as soon as you land it, that ship now belongs to you. You do have to register it, which I think costs about 5,000 to 10,000 coins, which is relatively cheap and a lot cheaper than buying a ship. And then once you register it, then you can upgrade the ship like you can your original ship as well. So yeah, it's better to, if you want to be that sort of guy, it's better to steal ships. Like I stole this pirate ship rather than spending hundreds of thousands on a new one. Best source of income is high value weapons, armors, and missions. So all the legendary and rare weapons and stuff. Like I said, like now I won't pick anything up that's worth less than 4,000. My bartering isn't great. I've only got the first upgrade, so I don't sell for that much. But anything less than 4,000, I won't pick up because you are encumbered very quickly. So you just want to go for the legendary and rare stuff, really. When you're like as far in as I am. You can use your ship's storage capacity, but you will find that you end up using a lot of that for resources that you pick up. And then yeah, missions I've mainly used for all my money. I've done so many side missions now, and the further you get into certain factions and stuff, they start paying big money. So that'd be my best advice for getting money. Choose, oh yeah, this one's should have been the perk one, but number 11. Choose the commerce trait to sell for more as the values about, yeah, so this is just a tip though. The values people give you are really bad in the traders. So you can have something that's worth 4,000, 5,000, and they will offer you less than 1,000 sometimes. They're awful. So you do want to get the commerce trait if you're looking to buy and sell a lot of things. Number 12. Tip is how to join the Crimson Fleet, the Crimson Pirates, or whatever they're called. I think that's what they're called now as well. So I experienced this for myself. I don't think I've joined them properly, but all you have to do is get caught with contraband or get caught murdering or something, get taken to prison, and then the police, whatever you want to call them, will put you in an interrogation room and they'll ask you to work with them. I think if you work with them, then you work on their side to secretly be a double agent, basically. Work for them in the Crimson Fleet, and then you make some choices whether you want to go on either side, but that's how you join the pirates. Number 13, fast traveling. You will use fast traveling a lot in this, and when I say a lot, I mean like you can complete a mission where you're inside a warehouse and you can fast travel from that warehouse, so this is inside, to another galaxy, and you skip like 4 loading screens between going out the warehouse, getting in your ship, taking off, doing a what you would call it, a gravity jump, and then landing as well. Like you can fast travel, like you can skip 4 or 5 loading screens, so make sure you look out for that. 14, the chameleon armor. Look for armor. I've come across 2 sets now that has a chameleon mod to it, and that is when you stay still, you will go completely invisible. I found these very useful for my stealth missions when my stealth wasn't that high. So yeah, it's always worth keeping something like that around. You can actually get helmets that do the chameleon as well, so you can wear really good armor and just keep that helmet around so you're not suffering by changing into a crapper armor with less protection. Number 17, There's utilizing the boost pack. I've mentioned that. There's a lot of caves to go in. There's a lot of verticality in the buildings and stuff where you can get up to places a lot quicker. So make sure you utilize your boost pack by getting that boost perk. It does come in very handy, especially if you've got to travel long distances and planets, which I have to do a couple of times when you don't have vehicles as well. 18. This is one of my opinions. Now, you get to repair your ship, you get ship parts. But ship parts are heavy and you can't fit a lot of them on your ship, especially when you've got all your resources. So, if you're not in a dogfight, my advice is to repair shops at the cities because it'll only cost you 1,000 no matter how damaged your ship is. Whilst you want to save those ship parts for when you're in the middle of a dogfight and you've got to repair quickly. So whenever you go to a repair shop, and they even though give you the option to repair your ship for 1,000, if your ship is fully repaired, they will say your ship doesn't need repairing. So don't worry about losing 1,000 on repairing a repaired ship at the end, because that's what happened to me. Number 19, use your scanner. You've got a scanner on this. I use it quite a lot, but I use it more for, rather than scanning planets, I use it for picking up loot. It highlights all the loot in the room, so I've expanded that by like 10 feet or something, so I can see up to 20 feet of it now, and I can see all the good loot about. Because you do walk in some rooms, you don't know what's good, and you can miss a lot of good loot. You can also see it when you're on a quest and you're a bit lost. When you start walking the right way, if you look at the floor, it will show the arrows, like a bit like a sat nav, will show you which way to go. So use your scanner. Number 20. If you want to ever re-edit your character, there's places called the enhanced shops. They're in most cities, and for as little as 500 coins, you can go in there and completely change everything about your character. So don't spend too long creating it at the beginning. I've already changed mine twice. 21. If you've got a bounty on yourself, it can be a bit overwhelming. If you go into most of the bars in the cities, they should have a little booth, which is a bounty payoff booth. So you can just go in there, pay off the bounty without getting caught and losing all the items you've stolen, because they will take everything, even if they've only stopped you for a certain thing. A bit like some of the Elder Scrolls games. And finally, 22. Look out for explosive barrels. They don't jump in front of your face, like they're not so obvious like they are in some games. They're quite hidden because a lot of the space stations and the map areas you're in are very cluttered, but you will see them and they are good to utilize. They can cause some good damage, so look out for them and shoot those barrels. Okay, so next we're going to go into my usual little review. I'm not going to go into as much detail in my review because I've already done a huge amount of detail on the pros and cons. So let's start with graphics. I think it graphically does a very good job. I don't think it's next generation graphics. I don't think it's wow graphics. The NPCs can seem a little bit stiff, but I think overall it's good. It brings back some nostalgia, a lot of it, of some of the older Fallout games. I know people should say that's a bad thing, but I quite like it. I enjoyed the graphics. I think they're quite good, so I've given that an 8 out of 10. Atmosphere, I think the atmosphere is great. You go in bars, it's loud, it's rowdy. You go in certain cities, it's loud, it's rowdy. Rowdy. Then you go on barren planets, it seems empty and quiet, and caves and stuff like that. Like, I think the atmosphere is really good. When you're in space, the atmosphere is good, so I've given that a 9 out of 10. Map design, I haven't even seen an eighth of the map yet. Probably 1/16 of the map yet. But so far from what I can see, it is very good. The only negative I have is, like I said, I need more reason to land on those desert planets with nothing going on, those barren planets with not a lot. There's too much of that. But I have, like I said, what's brought it back up for me is the designs of the cities and the caves and the space stations. So I couldn't give it any less than that overpowers the cons to me. So I've given that a 9 out of 10. Next thing is for first timers, right? So you got two different sections here. You got first timers of Bethesda games, and then you got first timers, as in just this game. Now I've played Bethesda games before. There is some, and there is quite a lot of Bethesda style meta mechanics that most Bethesda players will be used to. So I think that did help me. There are some hints and tips and stuff, but there is a lot of moments where you're a bit on your own. And like I said, there hasn't really been anything for the base building for me yet. There has been some things I've been confused about and I've learned along the way, but the game is still playable and still enjoyable, even if you don't really know what you're doing. Because there's so much to explore, there's so much to look at, there's so much to shoot at. So I've still given that a 7 out of 10. In fact, if anything, I think that was a bit harsh, but we'll keep it as that for now. Game time, I've mentioned in my pros the amount of missions and everything. I've mentioned in my pros about the exploration and the interiors and the cities and everything, and the side quests and the challenges and the perks. I couldn't give that anything else other than a 10. Would I play again? 10. Easy. Yes, I'm going to play it tonight. As soon as I finish this video, I'm going to play it. I've been loving it. I've been playing it for like a week straight, over a week straight now, and I've been loving every minute of it. So yes, it's 10. So overall, I've given it a 53 out of 60. I could have pushed a 54 when that first time as one, but yeah, let's keep it like that. 53 out of 60. I don't think this review really applies to this game as much as it does the other games. But yeah, that's just my personal opinion. Right, and stick around and I shall, it's been a bit of a long video, but I shall give you the quote of the mental health quote of the week. Today's quote is none other than Mike Tyson, otherwise known as Iron Mike, Kid Dynamite, and later known as the baddest man on the planet. Now, so this quote starts with, discipline is doing what you hate to do, but nonetheless doing it like you love it. End quote. So yeah, I really like this quote. It's a good quote. To me, what it says is that discipline is not doing what you love all the time. Discipline is doing the things you don't want to do, whether they're too easy for you and they're just mundane and they're an everyday thing, you just bored of it, or they're just too difficult for you. You don't earn discipline in things you like and enjoy doing, but you've got to have the attitude as if you love it. My experience with this is I've done certain courses. I'm doing a coding course at the moment, and although I do find it interesting to do it after work, I've got to be disciplined. And there's many a time I sit there thinking, oh God, I'm not enjoying this. I'm not enjoying it. I'll tell you what, I've done 20 minutes. 20 minutes is better than nothing. The next time, 15 minutes is better than nothing. 10 minutes is better than nothing. And if you're not disciplined, you're not going to get those goals you want to get to. It's the same as the gym. I go to the gym 6 days a week, and my dad will ask me to do extra work or something. And I'm like, listen, mate, I've had a long week. And he'd be like, oh, you've only worked the same amount of hours as everyone else works. I said, yeah, but I go to the gym every day on top of that. And he's like, yeah, but you enjoy the gym. No, I don't. Not all the time. I go to the gym because I'm disciplined to go to the gym. I make myself go. There's many, 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 many days where I do not want to go to the gym, but I do it because I'm disciplined to do it. And I'm not the best in the world for this. I have many a thing where I should be doing it and I don't do it. But yeah, I really like this quote. And in conclusion, I just think what it means is it implies that true discipline requires pushing through discomfort and maintaining a positive mindset to accomplish to accomplish what needs to be done, whether that's something that needs to be done now or something that needs to be done in the future. Like this computing course now, it's so disheartening looking at the fact that I've only done 5% of it and I've done hours upon hours on it, but I know in the future it's going to do me good and it's definitely going to do my bank good. So that's the important thing about it. Is yeah, you gotta, my advice is, I read something somewhere where they said you should do something you don't want to do every day, where it's the smallest thing. For example, I think a lot of people have got on board with this one is a cold shower. I don't do them myself, but a lot of people don't want to get in that cold shower, and a lot of people say, oh, it clears your mind, it wakes you up, it's got all these health benefits, but the mega benefit for me would be the discipline part of it. It's something you don't want to do, but you do it. And yeah, I like this quote. Like I said, I'm going to keep it short and sweet today. I'm not going to go too into that one. I've got a quote for next video, which I do want to dive a bit deeper into and give my life experiences with it, which will go on a bit further. But we've had such a long video today that I'm going to cut this one a bit shorter. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I shall see you in the next one.